The stars over Orionis-Prime shone faintly through the heavy smoke of battle. From orbit, the planet looked calm, almost peaceful, but below the clouds, chaos raged. Cities were in ruins. Smoke and fire covered the once bustling metropolises. The alien fleets of the Zerath Coalition hung like dark clouds in space, their massive ships casting long shadows over the planet's surface. Every calculation, every strategy, told the aliens that victory was already theirs. Admiral Thalcor, leader of the Zerath forces, stood at the command center of the flagship Oblivion's Might. The room was vast, with walls of dark metal and panels glowing with alien symbols. Hundreds of officers moved with precision, reporting on the progress of the invasion. Thalcor's many eyes scanned the holographic displays, watching the human defenses crumble. "They are finished," he said in a low, commanding voice. His tone carried both pride and finality. "By the end of the cycle, Orionis-Prime will be under our control. Prepare to celebrate." His lieutenants nodded, confident that their calculations were correct. The humans had been a nuisance at first, their planetary defenses primitive compared to the Zerath's warships. But the aliens had expected resistance, and it had been easy to predict human moves so far. Cities fell one by one. Starports and military installations were destroyed with terrifying efficiency. Victory had seemed not just likely, it had seemed inevitable. On the planet, however, the picture was very different. Smoke filled the skies, and the cries of frightened civilians echoed through ruined streets. Families huddled in makeshift shelters, afraid to step outside. Human soldiers, poorly armed compared to the Zerath, tried to hold lines against overwhelming alien forces. They fought with courage, but it was clear that their efforts could not change the outcome. Captain Alara Voss watched everything unfold from orbit. Her ship, the Resolute, moved silently among the wreckage of the battlefield, undetected by the alien sensors. Ilara was calm, almost unnervingly so, as she observed the chaos below. She was not a typical commander. Where others saw despair, she saw opportunity. Where others saw defeat, she saw a path forward. Her crew was tense. They were small in number and poorly armed compared to the Zerath fleet, but they trusted Ilara completely. She had a reputation for brilliant strategies, thinking in ways that even the most experienced human officers could not predict. "Captain," said her second-in-command, Lieutenant Milo Wren, his voice tight with worry. "The fleet is enormous. We're outnumbered 100 to 1. We can't even scratch their ships." Ilara's eyes never left the holographic map. She spoke quietly, her tone steady. "We won't fight them the way they expect. Humans never fight like aliens. We don't need to match them in size or strength. We need to be clever. We need to make them hesitate." Milo frowned. "But they will notice us if we intervene. One wrong move and we're finished." Ilara smiled faintly. "That's why we don't make mistakes. And that's why we survive." On the planet's surface, the human defenders tried to buy time. Soldiers in battered armor fired at alien drones, explosions lighting up ruined streets. Civilians helped wherever they could, carrying supplies, moving the injured, and offering whatever assistance was possible. The human spirit refused to break, even under impossible odds. Meanwhile, in the command center of the Zerath flagship, Thalcor watched his screens with satisfaction. "The humans have no hope," he said, his many eyes narrowing. "Their weapons are primitive. Their strategy is predictable. By the next cycle, the planet will be ours. I will taste the joy of complete victory." Yet even as he spoke, tiny anomalies appeared on his screens. A ship moving fast and alone, weaving through the gaps in the fleet. It moved too deliberately, too skillfully to be a random strike craft. Sensors picked it up briefly and then lost it again, as if it knew the fleet better than it should. "Sir," said a young officer, pointing at the readings, "we have detected an unknown vessel. It is moving against protocol." "Alone," Thalcor turned, eyes narrowing. "A single human ship? Do not overreact. It will be destroyed before it matters." But deep inside, a small unease stirred. It was impossible to explain, even in his vast experience. Something about the ship was different. Back in orbit, Ilara smiled as her ship glided unseen past the alien defenses. She did not need to destroy the fleet outright. She only needed to create disruption, to show the Zerath that humans were unpredictable. A few well-placed strikes could slow them, confuse them, and most importantly, inspire the humans below to fight in ways the aliens could not anticipate. Her first target was a supply convoy. The Zerath were methodical. their ships moving in precise formations, carrying munitions, fuel, and critical supplies to the front lines. Ilara plotted a course to intercept them, using the shadows of larger ships to hide her approach. Her fingers danced over the controls. Steady, steady. Now. A small burst of energy from her ship disabled a cargo transport, sending it spiraling into space. She moved on, targeting another and another. Each strike was precise, leaving minimal evidence of her presence. Meanwhile, the humans on the ground noticed the sudden disappearance of alien supplies. Confusion spread among the invaders. Why were their convoys failing? Why were their strikes becoming less efficient? The Zirath began to hesitate, recalculating strategies that had seemed flawless moments before. On Orionus Prime, soldiers felt a surge of hope. News spread quickly. A human ship was making a difference. Morale lifted as whispers turned into belief. Perhaps victory was not so impossible after all. Back in the flagship, Thalkor's unease grew. How can one human ship interfere with the calculations? There is no explanation. He narrowed his many eyes, a sensation close to frustration passing over his face. Find it, destroy it. Nothing should survive to challenge us. Ilara's ship danced through the battlefield, striking at vulnerable points, then disappearing before the aliens could react. It was not brute force that carried her success, but speed, intelligence, and courage. Every move was calculated to maximize effect while minimizing exposure. On the planet's surface, human defenders found themselves inspired by something they could not see. Rumors of a single human ship doing the impossible spread through the ranks. Civilians, too, began helping more actively, gathering supplies, reinforcing barricades, and providing intelligence. Even in the face of overwhelming odds, humans refused to surrender. Ilara knew that her role was not just to strike at the enemy, but to change the psychology of the battle. The Zereth relied on numbers and power. Humans relied on creativity, courage, and spirit. That difference, invisible yet immense, was where the real advantage lay. As night fell over Orionus Prime, the fires of war painted the clouds red. From orbit, Ilara looked down, the planet glowing with destruction but also with resilience. She whispered to herself, "We are not done yet." Not by far. And far below, in the heart of the alien command, Thalkor clenched his fists. For the first time, he felt the stirrings of doubt. One human ship, he realized, might not change the war, but it could change everything. The galaxy had never witnessed humans in battle like this before. Across Orionus Prime, the Zirath coalition had been certain of victory. Their numbers were overwhelming, their ships technologically advanced, their calculations near flawless. And yet, one human, one small ship led by Captain Ilara Voss, was beginning to rewrite the rules of war. From the shadows of orbit, Ilara's ship moved silently, weaving through the gaps in the Zirath fleet. Her sensors scanned the battlefield constantly, identifying weak points in formations, gaps in patrols, and critical supply lines. Every move was deliberate, every strike precise. Lieutenant Milo Wren watched the displays nervously. "Captain, another convoy is approaching. This one is guarded by heavy cruisers. It will be difficult to attack without detection." Ilara's lips curved into a calm, confident smile. Good. That means they won't expect the unexpected. She activated her ship's cloaking protocols, a risky move that made the Resolute almost invisible even to the Zirath's advanced sensors. "We do not need to destroy the entire convoy. We only need to delay them, confuse them, and make them question every move." The first strike was subtle, a precision shot disabling the navigation of a supply ship. It spun helplessly, drifting away from its formation. Another strike caused a minor reactor overload in a transport, forcing nearby cruisers to divert resources to contain it. By the time the Zirath officers realized what was happening, the human ship was gone, leaving no trace. Back in the command center of the flagship Oblivion's Might, Admiral Thalkor furrowed his many eyes at the readings. Another convoy failure? Impossible. Our defenses are perfect. There is no explanation. A subordinate hesitated, careful with her words. "Sir, it appears that the attacks are coming from a single, highly advanced vessel. It moves unpredictably, striking only where it is most effective." Thalkor's eyes narrowed. "A single human ship?" The words were almost a whisper, but there was tension in his voice. "Impossible. Humans cannot match our technology. Find it, destroy it immediately. Leave nothing alive." Meanwhile, the humans on Orionus Prime were beginning to feel a change. Word spread quickly through the battered defenders. A human ship was striking at the heart of the alien fleet. Morale, long low, surged with hope. Soldiers who had been ready to surrender now held their ground. Civilians gathered supplies and organized evacuations more efficiently, inspired by the idea that someone out there was fighting for them. In the ruined city of Viralia, a group of human soldiers took a moment to watch the sky. "Did you hear?" one of them said, voice trembling with awe. "A single ship. It's hitting their fleet. It's incredible." "Then maybe we still have a chance," another replied. His hands tightened around his weapon. "Maybe we're not finished yet." Ilara's attacks continued, each more daring than the last. She struck at the communication relays of the Zirath fleet, cutting off coordination between ships. She disabled weapons platforms from angles no one could predict. Each strike caused confusion among the aliens, forcing them to spend precious resources on repairs rather than advancing their invasion. Her strategy was not to win through sheer force, but through disruption and psychological impact. The Zirath relied on precision and calculation, expecting humans to behave predictably. Ilara shattered that expectation. She moved fast, thought faster, and used unpredictability as her greatest weapon. Back on the ground, human fighters began to see a pattern in the attacks. They realized the alien calculations were failing, that the Zirath forces were no longer perfectly coordinated. Small groups of humans began organizing raids on alien supply depots and defensive outposts, synchronized with Ilara's strikes from orbit. Lieutenant Jara Finn, leading a small squad in the city outskirts, whispered to her team, "The humans in orbit are helping us. Every time we see their ship hit the enemy, we see a chance. We have to act now." The squad moved quickly, using the alien confusion to their advantage. Where once a frontal assault would have been suicide, now their strikes had impact. The humans were not stronger. They were smarter, faster, and more daring than the Zirath anticipated. In orbit, Ilara observed these ground movements with satisfaction. "They are responding," she said to Milo. "They are learning to fight in ways the aliens cannot predict." That is how humans win, not by matching strength but by thinking differently. Milo nodded, still nervous, but the risk is high. One mistake and we could be destroyed. Ilara's eyes were steady, her voice calm. "Humans are nothing if not resilient. We take risks because we have to, and when the moment is right, that risk becomes advantage." Talcor, growing increasingly frustrated, convened an emergency meeting with his top commanders. "We cannot allow this human to continue," he said, his voice cold. "We are superior in every measurable way, yet a single human ship is causing more disruption than an entire fleet should. It is unacceptable." A senior officer spoke carefully. "Sir, perhaps we are underestimating them. Humans, they are not like other species we have encountered. Their unpredictability, it cannot always be calculated." Thalcor's many eyes narrowed further. "Unpredictability is not a strategy. Find the human. Study its patterns. Exploit its weaknesses. Destroy it before it undermines our entire operation." Back on Orionis Prime, civilians noticed subtle changes in their surroundings. Fires that had seemed uncontrollable were now being contained. Soldiers had new energy, moving with coordination and determination. The alien forces for the first time were making mistakes, minor at first but noticeable. Supply lines were disrupted, patrols misdirected, and attacks delayed. Ilara's next move was bold. She targeted a small fleet of cruisers preparing to launch a major assault on the planet's surface. Using a combination of speed, trajectory prediction, and a daring maneuver around a massive battleship, she struck at the lead cruiser's engines. The cruiser spun helplessly, blocking the rest of the fleet and causing a domino effect of collisions. On the surface, humans cheered silently in their hidden positions. Civilians gathered in safe zones, watching the chaos above through small observation devices. Soldiers took advantage of the alien fleet's hesitation to fortify positions, rescue trapped civilians, and mount counterattacks. Thalcor could hardly believe his sensors. "This is impossible," he growled. "A single human should not be able to do this." In the Resolute, Ilara allowed herself a brief smile. "Humans are underestimated because they do not fit patterns," she said softly. "They fight with heart, not just technology. And when heart and mind come together, even the impossible becomes possible." The Zirath fleet began to react, attempting to track and destroy Ilara's ship. But every measure they tried, every tactic they deployed was anticipated or avoided. The Resolute moved in ways no alien could predict, striking, disappearing, and reappearing at will. On the ground, human soldiers were inspired to perform feats that seemed impossible just days before. Small squads took out alien patrols, civilians guided troops to weak points in enemy defenses, and supply lines began to be restored. The humans were learning to fight in unison with the mysterious ship in orbit. In one ruined city, Lieutenant Jara Finn paused on a rooftop, looking at the burning horizon. "It's like someone is fighting for us. Someone we can't even see," she whispered. Her eyes shone with renewed hope. Maybe we can win this." Ilara, observing from above, felt the weight of responsibility. Every action she took was more than just an attack. It was a spark to ignite courage, ingenuity, and hope in humans everywhere. She knew the alien calculations were faltering, and if humans could seize this moment, the tide of battle could shift completely. Back on the flagship, Thalkor's frustration grew into anger. His officers reported repeated failures, losses, and confusion among their forces. "The humans are interfering with everything," he roared. "We must destroy that ship, or this victory will slip through our grasp." But even in his anger, a small part of him acknowledged something he had never considered. Humans were unpredictable, adaptive, and cunning. They fought with a combination of intelligence and instinct that no machine, no calculation could fully anticipate. And perhaps in the vastness of the galaxy, that unpredictability was their greatest weapon. Ilara set her sights on her next target, her mind already planning the strike. "This is only the beginning," she said quietly. "We will show them what humans are capable of." The stars over Orionis-Prime shimmered, reflecting both the destruction and the hope below. The battle was far from over, but for the first time, humans were not just defending, they were taking control. One small ship, one determined captain had reminded the galaxy that humans were never predictable, never to be underestimated, and never truly defeated. The battle for Orionis-Prime had entered a new phase. Where the humans had once scrambled to survive, now they moved with a purpose born from inspiration. The alien Zirath fleet, massive and disciplined, was beginning to falter. Not because their technology had failed, but because humans refused to fight the way they expected. Captain Ilara Voss sat in the bridge of the Resolute, her eyes scanning the holographic display that mapped every ship in the conflict. The fleet was massive, nearly impossible to defeat with her small vessel alone. Yet as she observed patterns in the alien formation, she realized that weakness was not always in numbers or firepower. It was in predictability. "Lieutenant Wren," she said calmly, "we are not here to destroy their fleet. That would be impossible. We are here to show them they are not untouchable. Every strike we make must force them to question their calculations." Milo nodded, hands steady despite the tension. "Understood, Captain. But the cruisers approaching the planet's surface are heavily armed. If we are detected," Ilara interrupted, her voice firm, "if we are detected, we adapt. That is what makes humans dangerous. We think fast. We change the rules." Below, on Orionis-Prime, the effects of Ilara's strikes were becoming visible. Small groups of human defenders had begun to coordinate with one another in ways that previously seemed impossible. Soldiers who had once acted independently now moved as a single force, taking advantage of alien confusion. Civilians helped by mapping alien patrols, gathering supplies, and relaying information through makeshift communication networks. In the city of Virelia, Lieutenant Jara Finn led a squad to capture an alien supply depot. The humans moved quickly, quietly, and with careful strategy. Every move they made took advantage of gaps caused by Ilara's attacks in orbit. The alien forces, frustrated and confused, had left critical defenses weakened. Jara whispered to her squad, "We are not just fighting to survive. We are changing the battlefield. Every action counts." At the same time, Ilara prepared for a daring maneuver. She had identified the main command hub of the Zirath fleet, a massive ship bristling with weapons and shields. Direct attack was impossible, but a strike on its support ships could create chaos and force the hub to retreat or risk being trapped. "Set a course around the left flank," she ordered. "We will hit the support line, then vanish before they can react." Milo hesitated. "It's risky, Captain. If we are caught near the command hub..." Ilara's expression was calm but resolute. "If we never take risks, nothing changes. This is how humans survive against impossible odds. We strike where they are not ready. The Resolute moved like a shadow through the fleet. Sensors on the command hub detected the anomaly. But before any action could be taken, Ilara's ship had already disabled 3 support cruisers with precise energy pulses. The resulting chaos forced the command hub to divert shields and weapons, leaving other areas vulnerable. On the planet below, human forces seized the opportunity. They launched coordinated attacks on alien patrols, supply depots, and defensive positions. Where once they had barely survived, now they achieved small victories, gaining territory and confidence. The Zerath commanders were confused. Their fleet, once perfectly synchronized, was now disorganized. They attempted to regroup, but every move Ilara made seemed to anticipate their actions. Her unpredictability forced them into constant defensive postures, reducing their efficiency. Admiral Talcor watched the unfolding chaos from the flagship. His many eyes narrowed as frustration turned to alarm. "This is not possible," he growled. "One human vessel is dismantling our operations." "It defies all logic," a subordinate spoke cautiously. "Sir, the human is adaptive. Its attacks are not random, it learns. It anticipates." Thalakor's claws clenched tightly. "Adaptive? No, humans are weak. They cannot match us. Find this ship and destroy it now. We cannot allow this anomaly to continue." But even as he ordered the fleet to converge on the Resolute, Ilara anticipated their moves. She executed a daring sequence of maneuvers, striking a communication ship to create false signals and confusing the alien tracking systems. The fleet's focus shifted, and the Zerath command lost precious time coordinating their next attack. On the ground, human defenders began to push back against alien forces. Soldiers moved strategically, using terrain to their advantage. Civilians guided them through secret routes, bypassing enemy patrols. Every success, no matter how small, amplified morale across the planet. People who had once feared for their lives now believed that survival, and even victory, was possible. In the city of Darion, a young soldier named Liam Oren whispered to his comrades, "Did you see that? The aliens are retreating in some areas. We can actually fight them back." His voice, full of hope, spread quickly through his unit, igniting courage that had been buried under fear. Ilara watched the changes from orbit. Her strikes were more than just attacks. They were a message. Humans were not predictable, not weak, and not easily broken. Even against overwhelming odds, they could find ways to survive and turn the tide. As the battle progressed, the Zerath fleet became increasingly desperate. Attempts to predict the humans' next move failed repeatedly. Every calculated maneuver was met with an unexpected counter, every formation disrupted by unseen precision strikes. Thalcor's frustration reached a new height. He summoned his top tacticians. "This human ship has revealed a flaw in our assumptions. Our strategies are failing. We must adapt, or we risk losing more than we have already gained." A tactician spoke with hesitation. "Sir, perhaps we should treat humans as unpredictable. They do not act as other species do. They are resourceful, adaptable." Thalcor slammed his clawed hand onto the table. "Resourceful or not, we will destroy it. Focus on one thing, find the human and end it. The moment we hesitate is the moment we fail." Meanwhile, Ilara prepared for her next move. She identified the alien fleet's weak points, areas where their confidence had made them careless, gaps left by ships diverted to counter her attacks. She plotted a series of strikes designed not to destroy the fleet entirely, but to maximize confusion and create openings for the humans on the ground. "Ready for the next maneuver," she told Milo, her voice steady. "We will force them to fight on our terms, not theirs." The Resolute darted forward, striking at strategic points. Alien ships collided and retreated in disarray. Their formations were broken, and their advanced weapons could not target a moving, unpredictable vessel. On the planet, human forces seized the advantage. Soldiers launched counterattacks in regions where alien defenses had weakened. Civilians guided reinforcements and shared intelligence. Each victory inspired the next, creating a wave of momentum that the aliens could not stop. In the command center, Thalcor stared at the screens, realizing that the battle was slipping from his control. "They are learning," he admitted quietly, almost unwillingly. "Humans, they are learning faster than anticipated. They adapt. They fight differently, He stopped, glaring at the display. Recognition was a bitter taste. The humans were not just surviving, they were fighting back intelligently. And one human, Captain Alara Voss was leading the charge in a way the Zerath had never expected. Alara watched calmly, knowing that the next moves would determine the pace of the war. "Humans are strongest when they are pushed to the edge," she said softly. "They think, they adapt, and they act. That is why we are dangerous. That is why we survive." And far below, the humans of Orionis Prime, once scattered and fearful, now fought with renewed courage. They moved as one, coordinated with a single purpose. Every human on the planet, from the smallest civilian to the most experienced soldier, was part of a larger plan, united by hope, ingenuity, and the unshakable belief that victory was still possible. The Zerath fleet, once confident and invincible, now faced a new reality. They had underestimated the human spirit. One small ship, one brilliant captain had shown them that intelligence, courage, and adaptability could turn the tide. The battle for Orionis Prime was no longer simply about survival. It was a test of wills, and humans were beginning to prove that they could not be defeated so easily. The battle for Orionis Prime had shifted. Where humans had once fought simply to survive, now they fought to reclaim what was theirs. The Zerath fleet, massive and disciplined, was beginning to lose its rhythm. Each strike by Captain Alara Voss's ship had forced them into defensive positions, and human ground forces were taking advantage. Yet with every victory, the stakes grew higher and the dangers multiplied. Alara sat in the Resolute's command seat, her eyes scanning the battlefield. The alien fleet had regrouped, deploying new tactics aimed at catching her off guard. She knew the Zerath would strike harder this time. "Captain," said Lieutenant Milo Wren, tense as he studied the display. "They've formed a trap near the southern flank. 3 heavy cruisers, 2 frigates, all converging in a tight formation. If we get caught—" Alara did not interrupt. She had already analyzed the formation. "It is a trap," she said calmly, "but not an unbeatable one. Humans have never succeeded by following the expected path. We succeed by being unpredictable. That is what we will do." Milo swallowed hard. "The risk? It's higher than before." Ilara's expression was steady. "I know. But every risk carries the chance for reward. And humans take those chances. That is why we survive." The Resolute maneuvered with grace and precision, weaving between the alien ships. Her target was a supply cruiser at the center of the formation. By disabling it, she could create confusion, forcing the larger ships to scatter and lose coordination. With a calculated pulse of energy from the ship's main disruptor, the cruiser's engines failed. It drifted helplessly into the path of one of the frigates, causing a collision. Sparks and debris flew, and the surrounding ships scrambled to respond. The trap dissolved into chaos. Below, human ground forces seized the opportunity. Soldiers led daring counterattacks, striking at alien patrols that had been stretched thin by the disarray above. Civilians guided reinforcements, moved supplies, and repaired damaged defenses. Humans on Orionis Prime had begun fighting as a single, united force, coordinated not by rigid commands, but by ingenuity and quick thinking. In the city of Darien, Lieutenant Jara Finn led a squad through the wreckage of an alien convoy. "Move fast," she shouted. "Every second counts. They are vulnerable now." Her team moved with precision, using debris as cover and improvised weapons to strike at alien forces. One soldier, Rena Calvec, took out a drone with a makeshift EMP device, proving that even simple tools could succeed when wielded with cleverness. On the Resolute, Ilara noticed another opportunity. The alien fleet was distracted, their formations broken, but the maneuver was dangerous. Her ship had sustained minor damage in the collisions, and prolonged exposure near the enemy command hub could be fatal. "Are you certain?" Milo asked. "We could be destroyed." Ilara's voice was calm, even serene.
"Yes, we must act."
"Humans are strongest when the odds are impossible. That is our advantage. Courage and intelligence can outweigh numbers and firepower." The Resolute surged forward, weaving between enemy fire. Ilara targeted a key weapons platform on the command hub. With careful timing, she fired a precise energy pulse that disabled the platform without alerting the hub's main defenses. Chaos spread through the fleet, and alien officers struggled to regain control. Back on the planet, human forces moved quickly to exploit the disruption. Squads coordinated ambushes. Civilians guided troops to weak points, and reinforcements reached critical areas. The human presence became a force multiplied by strategy and determination. But the cost of brilliance was rising. The Resolute's shields flickered, warning lights blinking rapidly. Every maneuver brought the ship closer to critical failure. Milo's tension grew. "Captain, the shields, if we take another hit, we could lose them all." Ilara's eyes did not waver from the display. "We will not fail. Humans survive because we adapt. We survive because we think faster than the enemy. Trust me." The alien command hub, now aware of the human ship's actions, reacted aggressively. Concentrated energy beams targeted the Resolute, forcing evasive maneuvers that pushed the ship's systems to their limits. Sparks flew inside the bridge as the shields strained to hold. Below, human forces faced their own dangers. Alien patrols had regrouped, striking at key positions in retaliation. Civilians and soldiers were forced to improvise quickly to avoid capture or destruction. Every victory gained above came at the price of risk below. In Virelia, a young soldier named Liam Oren led a group to rescue trapped civilians. They navigated collapsed streets, avoided alien patrols, and moved the injured to safer ground. Each success was a reminder of human resilience, yet every step was dangerous. Ilara's next move required precision and courage. She calculated a high-risk strike against a heavy cruiser that controlled multiple weapons platforms. A direct attack would expose the Resolute, but the reward could disrupt the enemy fleet's coordination entirely. "Brace for the maneuver," she told Milo. "This is where humans prove themselves. We act when others fear to. We strike when the impossible seems too dangerous." The ship darted forward, weaving through enemy fire, targeting the cruiser with pinpoint accuracy. Energy pulses struck the ship's engines and the cruiser spun out of control, colliding with nearby vessels. The Zerath fleet's formation collapsed entirely. In the chaos, human ground forces advanced, reclaiming lost territory. Soldiers moved with confidence, civilians assisted actively, and the planet seemed to breathe hope for the first time in days. Humans were no longer reacting. They were taking control. Yet, even as victory seemed possible, the cost became clear. The Resolute had taken significant damage. Systems were failing. Energy levels were low, and the ship's hull was scarred from near misses. Milo looked at Ilara with concern. "Captain, we cannot keep this up much longer. If we continue like this..." Ilara's gaze was steady, almost serene. "We continue because we must. Humans do not give up when the odds are impossible. Every strike, every action matters. Courage is not measured by safety. It is measured by the willingness to face danger and act anyway." Below, the human forces felt the same truth. Every soldier, every civilian faced danger with courage. Humans who had been terrified were now decisive. Every move built on strategy, intelligence, and spirit. The planet was no longer passive. It was alive with human determination. Thalcor, watching the chaos from his flagship, realized the truth he had tried to deny. Humans were more than numbers or weapons. They were unpredictable, adaptive, and courageous. They fought with a combination of intelligence and instinct that no calculation could predict. This human, Captain Ilara Voss, she is not just a ship. She is the embodiment of human unpredictability, he admitted quietly. His many eyes narrowed in frustration. "We must destroy her, or risk everything we have gained." Ilara, aware that the enemy was focusing more resources on her, made one final daring strike for the cycle. She targeted a crucial command relay that coordinated multiple warships. A precise pulse disrupted their systems, causing the fleet to falter, weapons to misfire, and coordination to fail. Back on Orionis Prime, the humans seized the advantage. Soldiers took strategic positions, reclaiming lost ground. Civilians reinforced structures and assisted the wounded. Each victory, however small, was magnified by the chaos above. Humans had become an unstoppable force not by sheer strength, but by intelligence, courage, and coordination. Yet the Resolute's condition worsened. Sparks flew, alarms blared, and systems faltered. Milo's voice trembled. "Captain, shields are failing. Engines are critical." Ilara looked at the display, calm as ever. "We will survive. Humans always adapt. Every failure is a lesson, every challenge an opportunity. This ship may falter, but the human spirit does not." The Zerath fleet, shaken and disorganized, began to retreat slightly, regrouping after repeated setbacks. Their confidence, once unshakable, was now fractured. Humans had proven that even the mightiest forces could be challenged by intelligence, courage, and unity. Ilara breathed slowly, feeling the weight of the battle. Every strike, every maneuver, every risk had brought them closer to shifting the balance. She looked down at the planet below, glowing with human effort, and smiled faintly. "This is what it means to be human," she whispered. "We fight, we adapt, we survive, and we inspire hope where none exists." Orionis Prime was far from safe, but the tide of battle had begun to turn. Humans, inspired by a single captain and her daring ship, were no longer merely defending, they were challenging fate itself. And the Zirath for the first time realized that their expected victory was slipping away. The battle for Orionis Prime had reached a critical point. The once confident Zirath fleet was in chaos, their precise formations shattered by the unexpected brilliance of humans. Captain Alara Voss's small ship, the Resolute, had become a symbol of hope and defiance. Every strike she made had inspired humans on the planet to fight in ways the aliens could not predict. Alara stood at the command seat, her eyes focused on the displays. The fleet's command hub, the largest and most fortified ship in the system, was momentarily vulnerable. Her sensors showed gaps in their shields caused by previous attacks, and she knew this was her chance to strike decisively. Lieutenant Milo Wren spoke cautiously. "Captain, this is dangerous. The command hub has concentrated its defenses. One wrong move and we could be destroyed." Alara's gaze remained steady. "We have come this far because we do not follow predictable patterns. The aliens expect caution. We will use boldness. Humans survive by acting when others hesitate. This is our moment." The Resolute moved like a shadow across the battlefield, weaving between beams of energy and debris from previous clashes. Ilara's strategy was not to destroy the entire fleet, such a task was impossible, but to strike a single, critical point that would disrupt coordination and force the aliens into retreat. Below, humans on the surface watched the sky, their hearts lifted by the ongoing struggle. Soldiers, civilians, engineers, and medics all contributed to the fight. Where once despair had dominated, hope now surged like a wave. Every successful strike above gave humans the courage to reclaim territory, rescue trapped civilians, and fortify positions. In the city of Virelia, Lieutenant Jara Finn led a squad through a partially destroyed alien patrol outpost. "Move fast," she shouted. "Every second counts. The aliens are scattered. We can take back our city." Her squad moved with precision, using debris for cover and improvised weapons to disable alien drones. Civilians assisted wherever possible, providing intelligence and carrying supplies. Humans were no longer just survivors. They were active participants in turning the tide. Alara's first target was the hub's primary weapons array. A precise strike would disable multiple turrets simultaneously, creating an opening for coordinated human strikes on the ground. The Resolute surged forward, energy weapons charged, shields holding against concentrated fire. Milo's voice trembled slightly. "Captain, incoming fire from 3 cruisers. They are converging." Ilara's expression did not waver. Predictable. "Watch and learn, Milo. Humans act with purpose, not fear." She initiated a daring sequence of evasive maneuvers using the gaps in enemy fire to her advantage. With a swift pulse, she struck the weapons array, sending sparks and energy surges across the hub's surface. The effect was immediate. Multiple turrets shut down and the hub's shields flickered. Alien officers scrambled to regain control, but the damage had already been done. Their coordinated attack on the planet's surface faltered, creating opportunities for humans below. On the ground, human forces launched simultaneous strikes. Soldiers moved with confidence, guided by the intelligence gathered from the chaos above. Civilians assisted in evacuations, repaired critical infrastructure, and relayed strategic information. Every victory in orbit multiplied the impact on the surface. In Darien, Liam Oren's squad advanced through an alien blockade, rescuing trapped civilians and neutralizing remaining patrols. "Keep moving," he shouted. "This is our chance. The humans in orbit have shown them weakness." The Zirath fleet, now disoriented, struggled to respond. Their advanced calculations could not account for the unpredictable brilliance of humans, both in orbit and on the surface. Ships collided, misfired, and retreated, unable to regain control. Admiral Thalcor stared at the displays, his frustration mounting. "Impossible," he growled. "One human, one ship, is undoing everything. How can such a fragile species challenge us so?" A tactician hesitated. "Sir, perhaps it is not just the ship. Humans adapt. They coordinate. Enough," Thalcor roared. "Destroy it! We cannot allow this human to continue." Ilara anticipated their desperate moves. She executed a complex series of maneuvers, using debris from previous collisions and lingering energy fields to mask her presence. The Resolute struck another critical point, a command relay controlling multiple warships. The effect was devastating. Communications broke down across the fleet, ships misfired, and confusion spread like wildfire. On Orionis Prime, humans seized the advantage. Ground forces advanced into reclaimed territory, setting up defensive positions and capturing alien equipment. Civilians contributed by repairing structures and assisting the wounded. Every human on the planet, from soldier to civilian, had become part of the coordinated effort inspired by Ilara's actions above. In the heart of the battle, Ilara knew that the final step required both courage and calculation. The alien flagship's core energy conduit, its main source of power, was now exposed due to the chain reaction of her strikes. A carefully calculated pulse could disable the hub entirely, forcing the fleet to retreat or risk destruction. Milo looked at her, concern evident. "Captain, this could destroy the Resolute." "Are you sure?" Ilara's voice was steady, almost serene. "Humans survive by taking risks. We act when others fear. This is our chance to end this battle. Trust in humanity's courage." The Resolute surged forward, threading between concentrated fire from the hub and escort cruisers. Ilara's hands moved with precision, activating the energy pulse at the exact moment required. The conduit overloaded, sending a shockwave across the flagship and surrounding ships. The hub's engines faltered, shields collapsed, and its fleet's coordination crumbled entirely. Below, humans erupted in celebration and determination. Soldiers advanced into alien-held zones, capturing strategic points. Civilians cheered, guided reinforcements, and helped fortify defenses. The planet, once a place of fear and chaos, was now alive with human resolve. Thalcor, staring at the devastation, finally understood what humans truly represented. "They are not predictable," he muttered. "They are not just strong or weak. They are extraordinary. Their spirit, it cannot be calculated." With the hub disabled and the fleet in disarray, the Zerath began a strategic withdrawal. Their confidence shattered, their coordination broken. They retreated from Orionis Prime. It was not a total defeat. They were not yet destroyed, but it was a decisive loss. The humans had survived, adapted, and turned what seemed impossible into reality. Ilara, exhausted but resolute, guided the Resolute back into orbit. The ship was battered, systems damaged, yet it had succeeded beyond all expectations. She looked down at Orionis Prime, now quiet and alive with the efforts of its people. Lieutenant Milo spoke softly, admiration in his voice. "Captain, we did it." "Against all odds," Ilara smiled faintly. "We did it because humans never give up. We adapt, we think, we act. And above all, we inspire each other to rise beyond what seems possible." On the planet, humans celebrated victories big and small. Soldiers, civilians, and medics shared in the triumph. It was not just a survival. It was a declaration that humans could face even the greatest of threats and endure. The galaxy had witnessed their courage, adaptability, and ingenuity, and no force could dismiss them again. Admiral Thalcor sent a final message, acknowledging what he had once dismissed. "Humans, they are unlike anything we have faced. Victory was never guaranteed, and perhaps it never will be. They are extraordinary, unpredictable, and dangerous." Ilara, standing on the bridge of the Resolute, watched the horizon. Stars stretched endlessly before her, the galaxy wide and full of challenges. "This is only the beginning," she whispered. "We have shown them what humans are capable of, and we will continue to show them." Orionis Prime was safe for now. The humans had endured, adapted, and fought back against impossible odds. They had learned that courage, intelligence, and unity could overcome the mightiest enemy. And as the stars shimmered above, one truth shone brighter than any weapon or fleet: humans could never be underestimated. The galaxy had witnessed the rise of a people who fought not only with technology or strength, but with heart, spirit, and ingenuity. And in that moment, victory was redefined, not by destruction, but by the resilience and brilliance of humanity.